I'm Suzanne Sabilla. I'm the owner of Sabilla and Associates, which is the premier leadership and employee development company. Overcome obstacles, reframe your reality, love life, and have growth goals. Change and shift your energy. Pivot.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Suzanne Sabilla, your host of Pivot Now, where we bring on interesting, exciting, and dynamic guests who will share with us their tips, tricks, and life and business hacks to help you pivot in your life. I'm so excited to bring this guest on our show. She is absolutely amazing, and you're going to love her. Let me tell you a little bit about her. So she is a VP of operations, and she is also a coach, a leadership development individual, a keynote speaker, and the best-selling author of Growth and Gumption for Women. I'm so excited to bring her on the show. Here is Tinsley English. Welcome to our show, Tinsley.
Hello, Suzanne.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for the warm welcome. I love it. I love it.
On our show.
I am so excited.
And your book is called Grit, Growth, and Gumption for Women. Let's get that
correct. That's a mouthful. It's a lot of G's there. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but you've got it, and I love it.
Yes. I'm so glad that you're on our show. So we want to know more about how you pivoted in your life or business. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. I will track this back to my mid-30s. As a senior account manager at an insurance agency, where I was tasked with taking charge and leading a group of junior individual account managers. And at that point, I had no leadership skills. I like to say that I was promoted without an instruction manual. And at that point, I started to learn the very hard way that in order to lead others, you have to lead yourself first. And so that was really my first kind of fumble into leadership. And when I say fumble, it truly was that I was failing forward day by day.
Interesting. I mean, because I've been in corporate as well and in the leadership position. And that is so true. I find that a lot of times people rise up to the next level, and they may not be as competent in terms of their leadership skills. Like they may have the technical know-how and the technical knowledge. However, leadership is a lot of the soft skills, what we would call the soft skills, right? Communication, problem solving, really being able to interact with people, and basically like being a coach, right? So how did you go about doing that? How did you go about learning these skills?
Really the hard way, Suzanne, by teaching them to myself through a variety of days and weeks and months of failing forward. So I always had this quality of grit, which a lot of people, and especially a lot of women, have this roll up your sleeves, get it done mentality, the self-discipline. And I also had the gumption piece. I had the ability to go out and take risks and calculated risks on behalf of myself for my future. But what I was lacking, and we'll get more into this later, is the growth piece. So really understanding how my actions as a leader impacted and affected the people that were in my charge. And when I say growth, I mean the emotional intelligence and empathy piece. That is really what I was lacking as an early leader, and where I really could have used a book like the one that I've written for somebody to just give me some very straightforward advice.
So tell me a little bit more about your book. I mean, it is called Grit, Growth, and Gumption. I love the title, by the way. I love the title. So tell us a little bit more about it.
It is, I'd like to say, a love letter to the person I was 10, 15 years ago. It is for that woman who has people that she is responsible for, and she wants her very best self to show up every day, to lead with confidence from an authentic place. So the book really kind of starts out with me setting the stage that I'm your friend. We're going to work through this together. And it really is a workbook. It's a read where you can sit down in your car before work and read it for 15, 20 minutes and maybe do one of the exercises. Or you can sit down on a Sunday and work through the entire book in one sitting. It was written for somebody that's on the go, that has a very busy life, and that needs very quick, relatable advice to put into action immediately.
I love it. I love that because, again, as women, and especially as women leaders, right, we're very busy.
Yes.
Right? We're running our own companies, or we're in businesses where we're leading, right, leading others. And a lot of us also have families. So we're balancing all of that, or integrating all of those aspects of our life, and can be very incredibly busy, right? So it's great that you have something that's kind of quick, if you will, a quick read and actionable items as well. That's fantastic. So can you give us some tips on that? Like what can we do to have that grit, growth, and gumption?
Sure. So the book breaks down the grit, growth, and gumption into several strategies within each pillar. And so if we take grit, for example, as I mentioned earlier, everyone thinks that grit is just the roll up your sleeves, get it done, self-discipline part, which that's pretty easy to relate to. But what also you can do within that pillar is try to be more adaptable. So I'm sure in your business, in our everyday life, we are asked to pivot or change the way we do things based on our circumstances. And we don't always do it well, and we don't always do it to the level where we feel good about it. We might be reactionary. So there are strategies that you can use to become more adaptable. The other part of grit is learning the art of resilience. And so when I say resilience, I think it's a beautiful word, and I really love the way it rolls off your tongue when you say it. And it's one that we don't focus on enough within grit when we think about it. It is really where you are leaning in to coming back from a setback even stronger. And for women, what I see is that aspect of self-care in resilience.
Yes.
We need to be better about taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves at the top of our priority list so that we can show up as our best self for others. So when I talk about self-care, I'm not just saying take a bubble bath. I mean, making sure that you're taking time to schedule those doctor's appointments, making sure that you're taking time to get some fresh air and sunlight every day, giving yourself a balanced diet and sleep. Sometimes when we are the last on our to-do list, those are just basic needs that we're providing for everybody else, and then we neglect them for ourselves. So those are the way the book is broken down into really relatable strategies.
That is so true. I think self-care is so important. I tell that to my clients all the time. And having a certain routine, like a morning routine, like I have this morning routine where I do 10 minutes of priming, which is a breathing exercise, and then focusing on what is it that you're joyful about or grateful about. And then looking at what is your intention, or what do you want in terms of your outcome. And it could be 3 months, 6 months, and the next year. What is your outcome for the next 3, 6 months, or, a year from now? And really focusing on that, like visualizing it, that it's already happened. And I feel like when I do that, it really nourishes myself. Mm-hmm. And I also say that for my clients is like, do you have a morning routine where you wake up and you really focus on what you're grateful for? Because that really transforms one's mindset as well. And it's a great self-care technique as well.
I agree.
This-
And we do break down my morning routine for the reader as well. And we encourage you to establish that for yourself. And I've even got a contributor in my book, part of my G-Force tribe, and she actually gives you breathing techniques. She has a specific way to teach you how to breathe, to really, and not even just in the morning, throughout the day, to become more centered and aware of yourself and how you're responding to circumstances.
That's great. That's fantastic. I love it. Love it. So this part of our show, we call it 3, 2, 1, go. And so we want to hear from you. What are 3 tips, 2 strategies, and 1 action item to pivot our lives forward?
Absolutely. I love this part of your show. And so the book breaks this down as well. So the start with 3 strategies, right?
3 tips. 3
Three
tips.
tips. So as part of the book, we want you to identify your core values. And I give you a sample set of 50, but you can come with those on your own. And that is a way for you to identify what's important to you as a person, and make sure that if you're in a company or if you're applying for a new role, that the organization also shares those same values or close to those same values. You don't want to be misaligned. And so after you do that, we want you to establish your personal vision statement. And that is more of your life's elevator pitch. So it's something that you say that when you state this and you're speaking it to your family members or your coworkers or your manager, it lights you up. It is something that you should feel tingles when you state it. And once you've gotten that personal vision statement, we break that down into a North Star goal. So we back it into reverse engineering. Say, I'm Suzanne. My core values are sharing my message with the world of pivoting. And I want to do this in the next 3 to 5 years. And it is one of those things where we reverse engineer how much you are sharing what you know with the people around you. So you are definitely in alignment with your goals and your North Star.
Wow, I love it. That gets the heart and the fires, Tinsley. Heart and fires on that one. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is so cool. Yeah, knowing what your values are and what is important to you, I think is so important. And then having that vision, as you say, like your North Star, where you're going and what your direction is. Because if you don't know where you're going, how do you know if you got there, right? So I think that's so important. Love it so much. So give us 2 strategies in order to get there or to pivot.
Sure, absolutely. So the thing I like you to do is assess your strengths and weaknesses. And that's where we measure your levels of grit, growth, and gumption to see, okay, Suzanne, maybe you're really strong at the gumption. You're doing this TV show, but you need to work on the growth piece. So once you've gotten in that assessment piece, then we want you to analyze the different levels where you are on each scale. And then the last piece, the action, it's just starting. It's just starting to work on the level of grit, growth, and gumption that is the lowest to you. So the book really does walk you through from start to finish, establishing your values, establishing that North Star goal, figuring out where you are on the different levels of grit, growth, and gumption, and then immediately putting them into action. And we give you a workbook so that you can work alongside as you go through a chapter. You're writing these things down. And then you can print it off over a 6-month period each time. So maybe at the end of 3 years, you've got markers to see where you have been over the past 3 years and evolving in your strategies.
Wow. Love it, Tinsley. Love it, love it, love it. That is so cool. I love this. This is so great. I love that you have a workbook as well, and that you can actually be able to reflect on where you've been, where you're going, and yeah, where you've come from, right? I think that is so great. That is so fantastic. So what is the 1 action item that we can take to pivot our lives forward?
To not be afraid to take action. Just move forward with 1 step, just 1 step in one area. that you're not comfortable with, because all of our greatness, Suzanne, is on the other side of our fear.
So
Every
true.
day we need to be pushing ourselves to fail forward. I use this phrase in my book called fail force, and it is the art of accelerating ourselves forward through failure. If we're working with a team, we need to encourage them to try and fail as often as possible, so that they are comfortable in bringing their ideas and innovations to our team in order to make everything in the work product and the client experience better. So I'd say go out there and try and fail as much as possible.
I love that, because again, in our culture, failure is like the, it's like a taboo thing. Like people don't want to fail, right? They want to be like, okay, they want to do things perfectly. I mean, I see that within my son's, education, right? He's a sophomore in high school. And I see that with a lot of the kids nowadays. It's like they don't want to fail. It's like this whole thing of like, oh, you got to excel. You got to be perfect at this. You got to do really well. And so they kind of grow up with this level of anxiety, if you will, that, oh my gosh, I can't fail. And I love that you said, no, it's really about being able to fail and picking yourself up from that and learning from the failures, right? It's all about the learning.
It is. And life is a learning process. I think I heard this quote, and I don't remember who said it, but it is, failure is feedback, feedback is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So if we start thinking about trying and failing as a powerful experience where we're actually building ourselves up, I think that it takes the fear out of it. And I'll tell you, when I was growing up, I tried a lot of things. I tried a lot of sports. And it was funny because my mom was always like signing me up for different areas of intramurals and things like that. And I was horrible. I was really not good at anything. She kept trying to find something I was naturally good at, and it just wasn't resonating. But she was always so encouraging. She would say, Tinsley, it doesn't matter that you weren't great at this. You really tried, and you brought a great attitude to it. And that's probably one of the best lessons of my life, in that it's your attitude. It's the art of trying that takes a lot of that fear out of it. And if you show up as a leader with that confidence and let your team see that you're failing and being vulnerable enough to share those failures with them, you're going to get really great results and outcomes.
Yeah, I love that as well, because I think a lot of times as leaders, we think, oh, we have to be a certain way. Like we have to show that confidence, right? Which is really important. And I think a lot of times we think that if we show the vulnerability, it'll show weakness, which in actuality, when we show that sense of vulnerability, we actually can connect with our team, and they are actually much more open to being coachable.
It is.
I mean, that was a big learning for myself, huge learning for myself, because I always thought like, oh, I got to show like I'm perfect, like I do nothing wrong in some ways, and most recently, actually, that I realized like, no, it's really about showing my vulnerability, that I'm actually able to more connect with people. And then people are like, oh, wow, she's an authentic person. Like she's not perfect, because no one is perfect, right? And then there's more of a connection with another person. And as a leader, when you show that, there's more of authenticity there.
Oh, yes.
And not to say that you're going to be showing all your weaknesses and be like crying, or sobbing. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just showing that you're a human being.
Yes. And I'll tell you, being vulnerable was important to me in this book, Suzanne. I shared a lot of personal health struggles in this book, related to trying to have a child, related to going through a menopause journey, going to the hospital for certain things. And I shared that with the reader because I want women to feel comfortable in being vulnerable with the people that they work with, if they feel like sharing something. When I shared some of these struggles with people that I worked with on my team, I found out that they were going through something similar or had gone through something similar. And there's a relatability and a connection that was established that that wasn't there before. So I do get very real in the book on things that I've gone through as a woman, because I don't want to paint the picture of this is a leadership book. And everything in my career has gone perfectly, and I've never had a setback. I really wanted to strip back the mask and show people it's okay to be yourself. Yourself is different than any other person on this planet, and you are here for a reason, and your voice and the way you show up for your team really does matter.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Tinsley. Again, another heart and fire. Love it, love it, love it. Being authentic and showing up as you authentically. Yes, that is so true. Then you are shown as a true leader within the organization or in your business. I love that.
Yes.
Thanks so much for that. So how does one overcome obstacles? Because we're going to be presented with obstacles and challenges in our life. How does one overcome those?
One step at a time. I think that you need to assess what the obstacle is, and if is it an obstacle that you can tackle on your own, or is this an obstacle where you need to gather a team around you? You need to assess, what are the risks and rewards related to this obstacle, and hopefully, if there are no immediate obvious rewards, you can identify some, because I think if you can identify a bonus on the other side of a challenge, then it becomes a little bit easier to work toward it every day. I've had obstacles that I was able to assess and overcome fairly quickly. And then there were some, such as inheriting a really big problem on a desk where there was a ton of work that I had inherited from a predecessor. And it was just day by day chipping away at things. And that's where that self-discipline related to grit comes in, where you are just rolling up your sleeves and chipping away at it one piece at a time. And then that resilience piece follows it up where, okay, this was a setback, but I'm going to find a way to come through it.
I love that. I really do, because I think a lot of times, I work with so many clients where a lot of times they say, oh, well, when I get the motivation, then I'll do X, Y, Z. Right. And I say, well, you're going to be waiting forever. Right.
Yes.
Because motivation doesn't come that way. It's like, if you have these habits that you've put in place, right, these healthy habits that become routine, then that is what overcomes that level of being unmotivated, so to speak.
Yes.
Right. And then building that momentum. Once you start taking action, you build momentum. And before you know it, it's like you're going towards where you want to head, right? Towards that goal, towards that vision. I
love that you said momentum, Suzanne, because in the book, I relate to life as an amusement park. And I relate a leadership journey to whether you're getting on a management merry-go-round where you're going around and around and it's very prescriptive and you're checking the managerial boxes versus hopping on this leadership roller coaster where grit is the climbing up that first hill, pushing and grinding with no momentum behind you. And then you're at the top, you get to the top and you can kind of see the forest for the trees. It's beautiful up there, but you can't stay there. So you have to lean forward and lean into that gumption and take those risks. And then the growth piece is what I relate to the turns. And the turn is where you have to definitely lean in and hold on and dig deeper than you've ever had to dig before to stay on that track. And then the next time you go around that hill you were trying so hard to climb the first time around, it's got momentum behind you and you're going up a little faster. And the merry-go-round is okay for people that just want to say, I was a manager of people, but the leadership roller coaster, people are getting off this roller coaster. Their hair is flying everywhere. They're out of breath. They're with you. They're laughing. They're saying, wow, Tinsley pushed me. She was a tough leader. But she really wanted us to remember the ride. And the roller coaster ticket, it's a higher premium than the merry-go-round. But it's one that's worth it because it's memorable.
Wow, I love that. I love that analogy and that because I could just already see that visual, the roller coaster and oh my gosh, let's go on that ride, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you want it to be fun.
Exactly. Instead of the merry-go-round, like, da, 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 yeah.
Nobody remembers the merry-go-round.
Yeah, exactly. No one remembers that, right?
No.
So where can we find you, Tinsley, and how can we connect with you?
Absolutely. I love LinkedIn. That's a great way to connect with me. I am very active and I try to share my thought leadership there. You can also go to my website, it's just gritgrowthgumption.com. And you can find more ways to work with me on an individual basis or a group basis.
That sounds great. So you also work with groups and individuals. So tell us
Yes.
a little bit more about that.
So individuals, that is just coaching one-on-one where somebody has actual access to me. And then groups, I love to do a keynote speech. So if I'm coming to set fire to your group at a conference or an offsite meeting, that's another great way to access the message of grit, growth, and gumption.
That's so great. And where can we find your book? I mean, how can we purchase your book?
Absolutely. So it is available on Amazon right now in the print version or the Kindle version. I know some people like a Kindle. So absolutely, just head to Amazon and you can find it there.
That sounds great. So fantastic. Is there anything else you want to add that I didn't ask you?
Absolutely. So, Suzanne, the mission of this book and the reason that I wrote it was to reach as many women as possible. And I am on a mission to get this book to 1 million women by 2026. So if you buy this book and you like this book, buy a few more copies and give it to people in your circle, people in your team, and ask them to do the same. And the more and more we perpetuate that 1 million women, we're going to reach that before 2026. So with the help of your audience, I hope that we can share this message of grit, growth, and gumption with the world.
Yeah, I love it. Wow, 1 million by 2026.
1 million, yeah.
That's so fantastic. You go. We've got you, Tinsley. This is so great.
You.
Love it so much. Well, so great to have you on our show. You were absolutely fabulous. Love the book, Grit, Growth, and Gumption for Women. I just love the title as well. So go out and buy that book, right? Go out and buy the book and give it to others as well. That's
yes,
so great.
please.
Yes. And again, thank you so much for being on our show. We absolutely adore you. Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for watching us every week. We're here every Tuesday, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Live life abundantly. Pivot now. Change and shift your energy. Pivot